Welcome to Advanced English lesson number 19. Today's lesson is about electric cars. So let's go to the first slide. The first slide is called Electric Car Basics. Electric cars are much more simple than petroleum-driven vehicles. They contain only a motor, controller, batteries, and throttle. The motor assembly comes in two types: permanent magnet and induction. All electric and hybrid cars today use permanent magnet motors. Due to supply disruptions in China, new cars have induction motors. The motor controller changes the electricity from direct current, or DC, to alternating current, or AC, as well as receives information from the throttle. The throttle allows the driver to change the speed of the motor. So this is somewhat technical if you're purely an ESL student, but let's go over the basic stuff at the top. Electric cars are much more simple than petroleum-driven vehicles. I guess you could say are much simpler than petroleum-driven vehicles. That's two ways to say that. They contain only a motor, controller, batteries, and throttle. Okay, so the motor, you can put that at the back or the front, depending on whether you want front-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive. The controller can go anywhere inside, and the batteries you'd probably put half at the front and half at the back for balance. Now, permanent magnet motors have magnets in the motor, whereas induction doesn't have any magnets. It just uses wire. It has two coils of wire. So it's cheaper to make induction, but the permanent magnet is a little smaller, or a lot smaller actually. Here we have supply disruptions in China of permanent magnets, neodymium magnets. Neodymium. And the price of neodymium is up 300% in the last year, and that's just the start. I mean, if we start making electric cars, the price of neodymium would go up 1,000%. So you don't need to know this really. Let's go over this picture here. This car is being charged while the owner is at work, technically speaking. Now you can charge most batteries. You can charge them in about 2 hours. But they're trying to make the newer batteries you charge it in 1 hour. The problem then becomes you don't have enough power that can come through the line to your car, regardless of how fast the battery can charge. So here's the electric car economics. Electric cars are more economical and practical than petroleum vehicles for short-range driving. Short range is just short distance, right? The cost of charging the vehicle batteries from onshore windmills is 32 cents a kilowatt hour. Current gasoline prices are equivalent to 50 cents a kilowatt hour. Factoring in the extra cost of changing oil, transmission, gears, spark plugs, air filter, oil filter, and the exhaust system puts the electric car at half the cost of the petroleum car. These cost savings beg the question, why don't people drive electric cars? Well, now this 32 cents, this is only for onshore windmills, typically, okay? And this is it's actually cheaper if you buy it from the grid. They actually sell the electricity for 12 cents, but then they have to add more money from the electric company, and then you lose 30% of the power from charging the batteries. So that makes the actual cost about 32 cents. Now, so if it's 32 cents for electric and it's 50 cents for gas, and pretty soon 60 cents, then why do we use gas? Well, because of various reasons that I will discuss in a second. Here's our fuel tank. It says the fuel of the future is electricity because of the superior economics. Now, why don't we use it? Well, it's simple, really. It's because you have to charge the car every day and you can only go a certain distance. Like you can't just drive all day without stopping, or at least without refueling, and whenever you stop you have to charge the battery. So there's not charging stations, and there's not enough range on the cars that they have now for it to replace our gasoline cars. So next slide is our word assembly, and I used the word assembly here for the motor assembly. Now, assembly, if it's people gathering together. But if it's like a motor or a machine, it's parts combined to make a machine. For example, a motor. So here's an assembly. The employees assembled in the boardroom to decide on what or which color to paint the new electric cars. Similarly, the school principal called an assembly to announce his resignation for stealing paper. You know, I really wonder how much paper gets stolen from people in school. I don't do it. The Legislative Assembly met to make new idiotic laws. Now, Legislative Assembly is like a technical term for the government that makes laws in Canada, I think. Anyway, the machine assembly consists of a blade, table, and gear system. Now this is what I know about. I know about these machines. Okay, machines are awesome, and they're what am I trying to say? They are consisting of various parts such as blade, table, gear system, oil, wires. All that is assembly. Okay, let's do the next slide. Hybrid. A hybrid is two things combined to make a new thing. Wow! Very good description. I made this definition myself. I did not steal that from the dictionary. I made that one myself. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Round of applause. The Zonkey is a zebra-donkey hybrid. Now, that when I was little, everybody was talking about this Zonkey when they made a zebra-donkey, like a special animal. And now nobody's doing that because I guess it's kind of not a really cool animal now. The hybrid vehicle has worse fuel economy than a Geo Metro. That's true. I mean, they used to make these. I remember when the Geo Metro came out. That piece of junk was $10,000. It was like $9,999. Anyway, so the modern banana is a hybrid between two African banana plants. Now, I saw on YouTube a video of how to make a hybrid banana. Basically, like you take, like let's pretend this is a banana tree or banana plant. What they did is they cut off the top and the bottom, and then they sliced it kind of down the middle, and took two different plants together, sliced down the middle, and just kind of taped it together. And I don't know, apparently it worked. I haven't tried that, but that would be an interesting experiment. Okay, anyway, hybrid flowers are popular among growers. Now, I don't like flowers, so too bad. Next slide. Key vocabulary. Disruptions. Disruptions. Forced separation into different parts. To have troubles functioning. Now this one I got right from the dictionary. Forced separation into different parts. Don't you love it when the dictionary is more confusing than the actual word? So this is meaning like, okay, let's say we have this tree, and we just start tearing off all the leaves and throwing the leaves everywhere. That would be forced separation of the tree into different parts all over the road. That's one example. Or to have troubles functioning, like something's wrong and you can't do your work. So this one is this example here. This is this one. The student was causing disruptions in the class. He was punished. The traffic disruption was caused by an earthquake. That's like if there's a problem on the road and the cars can't move. Oh, look, I didn't underline that. Okay. To have troubles functioning, that's like this. A supply disruption caused by the hurricane means no water will flow for 30 days. Or no more water will flow for 30 days. driving without any disruptions can be relaxing to people. I used to think driving was relaxing, but really, like, in Canada and United States and Europe and pretty much everywhere, you have these roads like this, and you have a painted line in the middle, right? And most people think, oh, this is normal. But you know what? If you're driving along and all you do is you move your arm a little to the left, zoom, you cross the lane and you hit the other cars. All it is. There's no barrier here, nothing stopping you. And people die every day on the road because there's just a yellow line that prevents you from going. That's why I don't really drive on the roads at all anymore, pretty much. Yeah. Okay. Factoring. Factoring is one of the elements contributing to a result. I took that directly from the dictionary. Thank you, dictionary. Now, rising food prices are one factor contributing to a vegetarian lifestyle. So what we're saying is, why are people vegetarian? Because rising food prices. They cannot afford meat, so they are only eating eggs and vegetables. Okay. Look at this. Factoring for weather. We think the race will be successful this year. So it's like, because of weather, we think why don't we just say because instead of this ridiculous one of the elements contributing to a result? That's just a fancy word for because. Let me put that. Because. Thank you. The single biggest factor that led to the failure of hydrogen power is the high cost. Yeah, so remember Arnold Schwarzenegger's Hydrogen Highway? He wanted to have this highway where every car runs on hydrogen, but California has no money, so they built this ridiculous road that nobody uses with the hydrogen cars because it's too expensive and everybody is totally broke. They have no money in California. So that was a failure. Although in Iceland, they use the hydrogen for the boats, according to the internet. Yes. Look at this tape. Do you remember tapes? Oh, we had tapes back in the day. The factor behind tape obsolescence is the difficulty in changing songs. Obsolescence means it's old and you don't need it anymore. It's not useful. Although you could use this, it's just people don't. Thank you, tape. Next slide. Equivalent. If something is equivalent, it means it's same in value. For example, 1 kilogram is equivalent to 2.2 pounds. Rock music from the 1850s is equivalent to classical music of today. That's kind of a lame joke, because I couldn't think of anything to write. Look, oranges. I eat oranges every day for vitamin C and energy. Eating 1 orange is equivalent to an entire day's vitamin C. See, I couldn't think of what to write for this thing. I mean, orange is an equivalent. Like, what is an orange equivalent to? Is an orange equivalent to grapefruit? No, because it's not the same. So I couldn't think of anything for equivalent. So I just said vitamin C is equivalent to orange, whatever. Next slide is, make your own car. Most people think it is impossible for them to make their own electric car. However, it is very easy to build an electric car. It is initially mandatory to learn practical, hands-on skills before building anything. Electric cars are easy to construct. Fear prevents people from learning new skills. Schools prevent people from learning because they indoctrinate fear into students. Fear of the unknown. Fear of learning from experience. Fear of what other people think, but it's all a lie. Yeah. So, electric cars require fewer trips to the garage. They have fewer components to replace and almost no fluids to change. So, you could build an electric car. It's not hard, actually. If you go to goldenmotor.com, look at this. goldenmotor.com, you can buy the motor, the controller, and the throttle for like, I think it's $1,200. But the motor is only 10 horsepower, so I don't know what you'd do with that. I guess you'd make some kind of like a golf cart kind of thing. A really small, super light car. And basically, you can take any car and just stick an electric motor. Just rip out the motor, put your electric in there, run everything on that. But the government has all these mandatory laws that make it illegal to do stuff like that. Hate them. Okay. Look at this. Mandatory. Mandatory means you must do it, or there are penalties if you get caught, which most people don't. So, mandatory is technically you must do it, but in reality, like, most people get away with it. So for example, new emission standards have mandated 40 miles per gallon rating on all new cars. So what have the companies done? They cheat. They put the car in a wind tunnel, and they just, well, not even, is it a wind tunnel? Yeah, well, whatever they do is they put it on a dyno with no wind. That's what they do. They put it on a dyno with no wind, and they get these fake mile per gallon ratings, and it's all a lie. So that's how they get around that. No smoking is a mandatory requirement in restaurants. In British Columbia, it is a mandatory requirement in restaurants that you do not smoke, which, I mean, I don't care, because I don't go to restaurants, you know? Because why would I pay somebody to cook my food when I can make my own food? You know, I'm not an idiot. Okay. Mandatory school testing is unpopular with students. Yeah. You know what? In my class, no tests. Well, actually, that's not true, because I have these like quizzes, but I don't have tests in my, like, when I teach in real life rather than on the internet, but this isn't a test. This is just little questions. Stretching is mandatory for relieving back pain. You know, that's so true. Like, you got to stretch every day. I mean, seriously. If your back hurts, stretch it out. 10 minutes a day. I don't care if you have to stretch for 30 minutes a day. If that's what it takes to take away your back pain because your posture is like you're sitting like a gorilla all hunched over. You got to sit up straight like this. Back is straight. You have to stretch every day. 2 times a day. Yeah. Indoctrinate. Indoctrinate means to teach a philosophy. For example, the communist professor indoctrinated his students with fantasies of free services for all citizens. We're seeing this now all over the world. All these Western countries, they don't have any money, so they're just telling people, oh, let's do socialism and communism again. And we're going to have all this, you know, problems with debt and problems trying to find money for the social programs, and we're going to have hyperinflation, and then we're going to be, oh my God, what happened? It's going to be a big problem, but whatever. Okay, the instructors are indoctrinating their students with a new philosophy. Well, that's nice. The church indoctrinated its members with the teaching of the Bible, or their perception of the Bible. The church teaches a doctrine. Thus, they indoctrinate their people with the teachings of the Bible. See, doctrine? Doctrine. Wow, that's pretty cool, eh? Fluency practice. Key words. Assembly, hybrid, disruptions, equivalent, factoring, mandatory, and indoctrinate. Go. The assembly of hybrid automobiles is complicated and expensive. The vehicles can break down due to the mandatory government requirements. These disruptions are a problem, especially when constantly indoctrinated with television commercials about hybrid vehicles. Pure electric cars are much more simple. However, factoring in, for the limited range that the car can travel, pure electric cars have a disadvantage over gasoline-powered vehicles. Disruptions in travel are avoided by an abundance of gas stations. In comparison, the equivalent electric charging station do not currently exist. Yes, like I said, there's no charging stations, so people don't have electric cars because they can't figure out how to charge them. Why is there a text box there? I don't know. Anyway, what is equivalent to rich? Poor? Wealthy? Strange. The answer is wealthy. Rich and wealthy are the same thing. Which example is indoctrination? Reading a book about skiing, combining parts of a machine, teaching students about communism. The answer: C. Teaching students about communism. This is assembly. This is nothing. Number 3. What is mandatory in a school? No fighting. Always sleep in class. Disruptions are recommended. The answer is A. Usually it's mandatory to have no fighting in the school. Final question. Which example is a hybrid? Banana, classroom, electric car. The answer is banana.